Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Mic Drop. I know it's been a little bit, but we're getting close to the end of the summer. The beginning of the school year is coming up, so I think it's time to start kicking off a few more of these. I I want to thank you, all of you, personally, for sending me the well wishes and the hope for the best type of things as I start a different school year at a different place. You guys reaching out and telling me that you miss me and that the kids are lucky to have me and that kind of stuff, that means a lot. And I want to publicly thank you guys for continuing to pour your support into me. It does mean a lot. I don't really have much to say tonight because the school board continues not to work at all due to 13-minute school board meetings. So the concerns that I've brought up are still there and are still valid and have still yet to be answered. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. There are numerous other staff members, parents, community members that have gone to the school board meetings with their concerns only to speak for 3 minutes, have the public acknowledgement that they were there, and then proceed for nothing to happen for the next 2 weeks. Frankly, I'm just kind of sick of wasting my time with a school board that doesn't really work. It's like talking to air and asking it to change direction. It just doesn't understand. So there's a part of me right now that feels like I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys. I'm scared. Like, I'm afraid for Middlebury Community Schools this next school year. And it's starting up. So as we go into the school board meeting tomorrow, this is the beginning of the school year. This is when counselors are back. And then the next week is usually when the teachers are back. And then it's game on. So it's more important now, more than ever probably, to go into this next school year actually trying to take care of your staff members and hopefully dissuade them from wanting to do things like commit suicide in the parking lot of a middle school. I haven't heard anything yet back on that. That's like the one concern that I actually brought up. When I went back to that school board meeting in August, or way back in April, and I spoke and said what I said. The only thing I said was, I want you to take this John Homan thing seriously. And I'm living proof that for the next 3 months straight, that school board decided not only to not take John Homan's death seriously and look internally to try and find how things like that could even happen and throw more money, more resources, more time, more experts, more people, more anything at the staff so that they have the resources they need to take care of their own mental and physical health. I got done today. Today was an orientation day for my very first day at the new school, and the only way I know how to say this is that it is night and day difference working in this state versus the other state too. But the school districts are two vastly different. The amount of resources that the school district I'm currently working for pours into the health of their employees, the retention of their employees, their concerns. It's humbling. It's pretty extravagant. So I'm lucky. I'm blessed to be in this position. I'm very glad about that. But my heart can't be at peace when I'm sitting here and all of the families that I've loved and tried to help counsel through the last decade, younger siblings are there now in the school systems, and you still, it's been 3 months now, still have not answered the question, what are you doing differently and or better to take care of the mental health of your staff? Last time you said, yeah, we got these 6 meetings you can have at the Bowen Center, and then what? What happens and then? Then you're just done trying to help the mental health? What if you're poisoned in a toxic manner for years by the people that you work with? How is 6 sessions going to help that? How did it help John? It didn't. That's all you've had to offer. That's all you've had to say. You have nothing else? There's two reasons I wanted to come on tonight. The first one was to talk about the school board. And I always say, if I have an opportunity to record like a 3-minute snippet of what I would actually ask them if I were there, if I were there tomorrow night, here's the first thing that I would ask. What have you done since the death of John Homan to increase the amount of resources available to the staff members of your schools? It is clear, evidentiary based, that the current things that you have in place for the mental health of your staff is not working. And it's not just me that left, and John left in a different way, but there's the amount of teachers that have left Northridge High School last year is staggering. But that's a political thing that I don't need to get into. That's other people's business because I'm here about the kids. But you got to think, if your teachers are running in droves to other places because you don't give them the resources they need to take care of themselves, their families, their children, their mental health, which affects the entire family, what are you doing differently? Explain in great detail what it is that you've done over the past 14 weeks to try to increase the mental health and self-care of your staff members. And if you don't have an answer for that, and I've been asking for 3.5 months, and you're going to ignore it and still not answer it, here's what I would say to make sure that it got on record, since I still have 1.5 minutes left of my 3 minutes. To all potential teachers, administrators, counselors, and any other staff or employee of Middlebury Community Schools or potential, be afraid. Because I don't think if things start to go bad in your life, that your work is going to understand you. And that's based off of evidence, not a feeling. That's based on inaction. We've been raising these concerns. I'm not the only one. You guys haven't said anything. So, in closing, the only thing that I'm spending my 3 minutes asking is the same thing that Malahan asked back in April. Are you taking this seriously? And if so, explain in great detail how. Mic drop. That was only 2.5 minutes. So, that's the only question I have. And if they can't answer that, or they choose not to, I would tell anybody that thinks about working at Middlebury Community Schools to think again. Because I'm afraid for you. I don't even know you yet. I didn't know John Homan. It paralyzed me at one point how similar his story and mine was, and how the outcomes were also almost very, very similar. And I'm looking at all of the other hundreds of teachers and staff members that are in the district that don't have the resources they need to take care of their own mental health. How many of them this year, going into, like this year is starting, it's starting next week. How many current teachers are like John Homan was this past year? Like I was the year before that? How many are an inch away from doing something that is irrecoverable? And you continuing to choose inaction and turn a blind eye to it, or else we don't have to do that and we don't have to answer these things and blah, 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 blah. You continue to prove yourself inept. You continue to prove yourself that you need to be replaced. And advocacy during the next voting period, get someone else in there that'll actually take care of the mental health of the employees too. Not first, definitely not last, but two. The kids are the most important thing always at schools, 100% without fail. But the people taking care of them, they matter just as much because they have direct impact on those kids and their well-being. And shame on you for not doing more than you have at this point to try to prevent things like John Homan, to prevent things like, a counselor becoming so depressed by the toxicity of his coworkers that he goes into suicidal ideation. It takes a lot to do that. It does for me. So, that's the one piece of what I would like to say for tonight's board meeting. The second thing I wanted to say is how the mic drop is going to work while I'm employed at a different school district. Some of my kids were asking me, some of my former graduates were like, dude, if those kids at that school find out that you've got this mic drop thing, bro, they are going to be pouring into your office to throw all kinds of corruption out there that they would want you to speak about. Absolutely. You are correct. As a professional counselor, I'm bound by certain ethical and legal guidelines in order to continue to keep my license. There's nothing illegal or unethical about sharing the truth of corruption that's trying to be covered up. Never. While I'm employed at another school district, if I were to come onto the mic drop and start dropping what is currently going on at that school district, if it's corrupt, that's going to cause a conflict of interest between me and the kids and the school. I've got zero problem when I'm finished working at a place sharing all the truth in the world about the corruption that went on there. But if I had the mic drop going while I was still employed at Northridge, my kids would come to me about stuff that they would want to be put on the mic drop, more so probably than the things that they would actually need to come to a counselor for. Their own mental health, their own well-being, that kind of stuff. Sometimes they overlap. A lot of the time, the same corruption that's corrupting the staff is having a very deleterious effect on the students. And there's mountains of data out there to prove that, or else why do you even have mental health programs for your staff? So, while I'm employed at a different school district, when I'm working at that school district, I will not be doing a mic drop about that school district. Asterisk. There's an asterisk at the end. If there is something going on at the place that I work that is so corrupt that it mandates that I do a mic drop on it, I'll be putting in my resignation. That should tell you how egregious it would need to be. Okay, I just want these kids at this next school to come to me with their concerns genuinely as a counselor, without knowing that I also have, this other forum that I go through for myself. The mic drop is not a professional outlet for me. The mic drop will always be a personal outlet for me, and for whatever comes on here and whatever I allow on here will always be personal to me, not something I do for a job. I'm sure that my future kiddos are going to be watching some of these videos at some point, so I'll say this to you guys. If there's corruption going on at your school and you don't have anybody else to talk to and you need someone to talk to, find me. I'll be there. And I get to work with every program in my building. So there's not a single, I can't go and talk to him about this because, doesn't exist. I have free reign to work with every student in the building. So I would encourage you, if this is going on, and it's very, very heavily affecting your own self-care, your own ability to be you in a healthy way, that's something I need you to come talk to me about for sure. But if you're just wanting to get on here to share corruption and all that stuff, which is true, that can be done in a separate way that's not going to cause a conflict of interest while I'm working at that school. And that's just a choice that I make. It's respect right now for a corporation that's giving me a chance. They're giving me a job. So I'm going to give you the best that I have. And if I find out that you're a corrupt institution while I'm there, I'll probably be taking measures to do something about that. But I never ever want my personal advocacy towards corrupt establishments to ever come before what a child actually needs from a school counselor when they're at school. That's why. That is the main why I will be not doing any mic drops at any school that I currently work at. Now, as you can tell from the 20 episode mess that we had earlier, plus I think 5 or 6, 7 maybe AfterMaths at this point, I have absolutely no trouble at all when I'm not working at an institution anymore sharing my truth about how corrupt it is. And I'll continue to do that until I'm dead. And that's okay. Because it's my truth. It's not wrong. It's not right. It's mine. It's valid. It happened to me. And another reason, like I have yet to experience this school district personally. A lot of the stuff I came on here for the mic drop about was to share my truth at what had happened to me. I don't have anything that's happened to me at this new school district yet, other than I got hired and we had a great orientation day today. So, should there be a need for that, you'll hear it coming. But the most important thing to me always is that the children feel safe to be themselves at whatever school they attend. That's it. No discrimination, no stereotyping, no pigeonholing, no writing people off just because you don't fit a curtain model. Like, it just, that's old school. But I will tell you this. I have optimism because not all of Middlebury Entitlement Schools is corrupt. Not all of it. There are some dynamite teachers there. There are some dynamite people that I've worked with that are still there that fought just as hard as I did against the corruption that was going on at that school. And to the families and children that are thinking of going to Northridge this year and have a choice, here's what I would advise you. If your child fits the mold of what Middlebury Community Schools thinks their students should look like, then your students will have the best education provided to them, period. They will. So that could be a choice for you that you're like, oh, okay, cool, let's go do that. And it'll happen. While that is going on, there's about 5 to 10, maybe somewhere up to 15% now after COVID of the kids that just don't feel like they have any hope at that school. No one likes them. No one hangs out with them. They get picked on for being different. It's monumental. And we're going into a new school year. Like, you got a chance to start things fresh, you know, after last year's fiascos. Like, you can do something different. And I know that those good teachers that are still there are going to continue to fight their butts off and do it. And I could go in and I could name a bunch of them. I won't yet, but I will later. And there's a reason for that. But until Middlebury Community Schools decides to eliminate the corruption that exists inherently throughout the entire district, I will not stop talking out against them. I'm also talking for them, though, as you can hear. There are certain people, and there are definitely certain mindsets that need to go. Teachers, staff members of any of the schools that are at Middlebury Community Schools, I'm going to advise you to be extra vigilant and mindful about whether or not your administrator is trying to make you feel like coming to work is the worst feeling in the world, so that you will quit. You'll go and look for another school district and you'll leave so they won't have to fire you. So if you start to feel like you can't do anything right at your job after years of doing things completely fine, right, proficient or highly proficient and effective, I'd start to get a little scared, honestly. And you're not going to get a straight answer out of them. I had my principal sit and lie right across from me at the face when we had a meeting, and he tried to say that he tried to put me on an improvement plan after 8 straight years of being rated effective or highly effective. That's because they wanted to fire me, but they couldn't. So they made my life a living hell so that I would quit. Well, what they didn't anticipate are there are people like me, and there are people that are like John Homan that care so much that when you make their work life feel like shit, you feel like your whole life is done. And nobody can tell me that I didn't pour every single ounce of my heart, blood, sweat, soul, tears into the school spirit at Middlebury Community Schools. I would challenge you to find someone who does that better than me, other than Jane Allen. I can't touch her. She's on an echelon that's just... I hope I grow up to be her someday and have the ability to go to all the kids' stuff and just root for them, you know? And regardless of how she handled things as a superintendent, that doesn't bother me at all. Because my first experience with Jane Allen, my first real experience with Jane Allen was when I was the pep band director, and we were doing our songs at a basketball game, and she was one of the most cheerful people there. She absolutely loved it. Now, the band never felt more loved at a sporting event at that moment, or until that moment right there. That's what they told me. So Jane's heart for watching kids at the sports and cheering them on, I pray that I have that much energy going into, that age. But yeah, I mean, teachers, man, I'm scared. I'm scared for you. I'm scared for the kids. There's nothing new. There's nothing more that they're doing to try to make sure that your mind and your hearts are okay each day at work. And they have a policy that if they don't want you employed there anymore, they're going to take your mental health and your self-care down to nihilistic levels. Please protect yourself. You're going to go into it with rose-colored glasses, and they're going to want you to look through those rose-colored glasses and never take them off, because when you do, you get to see the ugly truth about the students that they do just write off and don't care about the employees that they just write off and don't care about. It's there. And if you need stories, bro, I'm full of them. You know I'll tell them. But teaching, counseling, education in and of itself is the most important job that I think exists outside of being parents. We are not eternal people. Our legacies are going to be carried by those that come after us. And any of my kids over the last 10 years that have asked me what my dream was, when I ask them as freshmen, like, well, what do you dream? Like, where do you see yourself 5 years, that kind of thing. Every time my dream has said, my dream has always been to help others reach their dreams. It's not going to change. So if you're in education to make a difference, if you're in education to change the world, if you've joined education to inspire students to shape the world, I would caution you working at Middlebury Community Schools. I don't think they have your best interest at heart. I think they have their best interest at heart, and that's based off of my truth. I'm not saying that is the case. I'm saying that's what happened to me, seems to what happened to John, and the multitude of teachers that have left Northridge High School this year. It kind of said some of that too. But I'll let them speak for themselves if they want to, or they can speak through me if they like. I have no problem sharing other teachers and staff members just as much as I do students or parents corrupt establishment experiences working with them. It's not, you're in good company, because there are dozens that I am in routine contact with. So you're not alone. And if you happen to feel alone while you're out there, reach out to me. Comment on any one of these videos. You can do so anonymously. And I'll reach out. We'll find a way to make connections, honestly. I've got my work cut out for me, because my students next year are some of the most at-risk students that can be imagined, which for me just makes me more excited. Like I am stoked about all the different stuff I get to. I'm gonna keep being a better counselor. The more different things that come in that I've never experienced before, that I learn how to counsel and help with, it makes me a more awesome counselor. I'm leveling up. I'm pushing past my limits. It's different than staying stagnant in the same place where you don't have to grow or think differently than what your community surrounds and wants you to think. It's called freedom, independence, all the stuff that you kids fight for in high school, your freedom, your voice, your independence, your identity. Don't let it get stifled by anybody at that school this year at all. And I'm going to go so far as to recommend something else too. If I don't care what the school district has as far as policies regarding cell phones and recording stuff and all that stuff, corruption needs to be brought into the light. Period. End of sentence. So if you see corruption and you have a heart of advocacy and or justice and want to do something about it, record it. Share it. Share your truth. Share your truth loudly all the time. And if you need help, I will too. I would rather see you alive, sharing your truth, than reading about your truth in an obituary. I have been blessed over the decade that I've been a school counselor not to have any of my students commit suicide. Not everybody's blessed like that, but I would much rather talk to you alive and help you fight through whatever it is you're going through, no matter who you are, than have to read about how awesome you were and I can't get a chance to meet you now. So don't give up. You may feel like it, and I've been there. Don't give up. You got an army of people that are ready to support you when you don't feel supported at Middlebury Community Schools. We're all survivors of the same trauma. I could start a support group if I really wanted to. I have the credentialing. But please be mindful of your own self-care, your own mental health. And if you got to put yourself first because your corporation continues to put you second, then do it. If the corporation gets wise and starts putting you as equals, as you should feel all the time, I'll come in, I'll do a different mic drop, guaranteed. I'm not holding my breath until that happens because I don't see any of the administration at Middlebury Community Schools equating themselves to anything beneath them. And if there was, they try to cover it up. Like your former assistant superintendent. This is all just data and stuff that's out there, so I'm going to leave you on that because I like to keep these under 30 minutes. But as for me, know full well, I'm stupid excited about next year. Like, I am ridiculously happy that I get to work with the population that I get to. And it's night and day difference on how this district treats their employees versus the last one that I worked at. So far. Granted, the beginning of the year is always rose-colored glasses, and you don't know until you get in there, for sure. But the stories I've heard, there were hundreds of people at the new teacher orientation today, and there were just dozens of stories of teachers that have been there for 20 years, 22 years, 23, 25 years, because the district really fights to keep their employees healthy and happy and content so that their children can be happy and learn and be content. So I love you guys. I always will. If you need it, you know how to get a hold of me. You guys have been already doing that, but don't give up. You got this. You hear me? If I can go through what I went through and come out on the other end preaching hope, maybe believe in that before you lose hope completely. I love you guys. I'm Mike from the Mic Drop, and we out.